So guys, this is what we will do for the next like 10 hours maybe. Of course, this by experienced 3D character artist can be done for maybe 3 or 4 hours at most. But since I explain everything, it will be done for a little more time. This interface that you can see here is not the default ZBrush interface, but I will explain that later. The thing is that, let me explain what we have in the project files here. We have the absolute beginners hotkeys, so we can load them from preferences, hotkeys, preferences, hotkeys, load, and you will have the hotkeys that I use. Then you can load, of course, from the preferences, config, this particular UI, absolute beginners ZBrush Nico interface CFG. So this will load exactly all these things with the lights here, with the brushes here, and the materials and everything. This will be useful. I also explain how to make them yourself, and if you are curious, which you should be, I think, it will be nice. So project files include also the final render Photoshop file. The basic material, it's a one material that we modify a little bit and save. The final ZTL file and the concepts. And for the concept, the original concept is this. Let me show it to you. This one. And I will show you who it belongs to, but after a minute. Then I cropped it and made it with the black background, which made it a transparent background in ZBrush, because pure black is transparent in ZBrush. And then I will show you the art station of the guy that made the concept. His name is Bu Zhou. I'm not sure that I'm spelling it right, but yeah, China guys are very good. This guy is amazing. I love this particular concept of his. Of course, if I would to make this character too, it will be a too long tutorial, so we stick just to the night. And yeah, let's see his other works. He's just amazing artist. I'm just, you know, very good. A lot of things. And yeah, he has a very good feeling of silhouette and everything. And my profile, my name is Nikolai Naidanov, and this is my stuff, the stuff that I do some tutorials and everything. So yeah, that's it for now. I've shown you the project files, I've shown you how to load the interface, but that's also shown in the next videos. So let's go, let's do this. Now that we have our interface element set, we can make a custom ZBrush menu that we can open very quickly, and it will contain the most important elements for us. This will be done by the following, but first I will show you again. If you are, the draw size, I just made it bigger. Yeah, but by the way, very important, dynamic on the brush is on by default for every brush almost. This dynamic here, double click on it, it will enable it, and double click will disable it. Dynamic draw size is a bit of a bump, you know. I think I've shown you already, but for example, now it's not dynamic, so our brush size will look the same. Either the model is here, it will be now very big compared to the model, but it will be the same as the model is here. It's the same, it doesn't change. But if we press dynamic, the brush size will change according to the model. So now it's this size, it's a little bit smaller than his head, and now it will be again smaller than his head. Now it will be the same as compared to the model. I don't like that. I like dynamics to be off. So there's a little plugin, I think it's here, dynamic off, dynamic on. The plugin, I don't think you will have to put it on. You just have to disable dynamic manually if you don't want to work with dynamic. I like to work without dynamic because I like to make my brush, then zoom to work with it as a little bit smaller brush, then zoom out to work with it as a big brush. You know, this is very much easier than to go with the bracket keys and make the brush smaller or bigger. It's just a faster way to work. But let's concentrate on our custom menu in ZBrush. So go to our preferences here, config everything, quick info no, hotkeys no, interface no, custom UI. Okay, create new menu, we have to click it, but we cannot. Why? Because enable customize have to be enabled, of course. And now we can create new menu, add a name which will be custom, ZZ custom, like ZZ top, but not quite, and then press enter. And we have this custom menu, which is this one. It's absolutely empty, but we can dock it. I want to dock it on the other side, so I will just grab it by this button, grab it without any keys pressing, just grab it on the button and press it, place it there. Now we can go and custom subpalette, make a custom subpalette. What is custom subpalette? Like for example, like preference have this config custom subpalette. It's not custom, it's subpalette. So these are subpalettes on our palette. So preference has this config, quick info, hotkeys, and so on. We will make the same here. So custom subpalette, we will just Control Alt, drag this custom subpalette and drop it here inside ZZ custom. And now we have this untitled. We cannot rename it until we put something in it. And this will be the zero mesh subpalette. So we'll go to geometry, and again, let me say, if you find this very complicated and you don't want to do it, you just want to start working, start learning stuff, you go to preferences, you go to config, you go to load UI, and just load from the project files, absolute beginner ZBrush, Nico interface, CFG file, and you will have everything except for the short keys. The short keys, you will have to do them after that with Control Alt, disable customize, and Control Alt click, press 1 for example, Control Alt click, press 2, Control Alt click, press 4, and so on and so on. This, I'm repeating this because I think maybe some people are just skipping ahead or something, so I have to say that again. I think I have to. And then you have to store config, press this button to store the configuration of your ZBrush. So when you open ZBrush, it will be like you pressed store config, like when you press it. And of course, the short keys will be saved by going to hotkeys and store. Press store and they will be saved. And now, no matter how much time you restart ZBrush, you will have your custom hotkeys and custom interface, which is fine. But now let's concentrate on this a little bit. Let's go to our geometry tab and find zero mesher. Zero mesher is here on geometry, which is under the tool menu, tool. Let's close this, geometry, deformation. So tool, have this always open, you know. Then you have subtool, geometry and stuff. Subtool and geometry are the most important. Everything else is not that important. So geometry, zero mesher, find zero mesher. Yeah, it sounds a bit complicated, but since we will put all those things that we'll need in our menu, we don't open that things that much. We'll only use our menu most of the time. And now zero mesher, we will Control Alt drag. Nothing happens because enable customize have to be enabled. And now Control Alt drag here, zero mesher, and detect edges we can put here. We can put keep groups here. We can put target polygon count. It's not we can, but we have to put it. And basically we are good with the zero mesh. Now how to change the name? Control Alt click zero mesh and press enter. And now we have this custom subpalette. We'll make another one. We'll go to the preference menu, Control Alt drag, place it here. It will go below most of the time. Sometimes it will go above, which is a little bit a bummer because we cannot rearrange them here very easily. We have to delete one and then make it again in order to rearrange them. So we have to put here what? We have to put del hidden, we have to put dynamesh. Let's go to first go to Dynamesh because it's here again, Dynamesh, and get the Dynamesh button. You will notice in the next video that Dynamesh is pretty important, especially for the starting of the sculpt. So we will use it. And I'm using it also from here, not only from my custom menu, but from here. So if you don't make these custom menus, you will not be that it will not be that problematic to continue. But if you make it or load mine, it will be much easier for you to start, and you will start with a very good start. You will be very fast. So I'm placing this resolution. I will have to place del hidden and close holes. And del hidden and close holes are in modified topology, again in geometry. Everything is here. So del hidden, I'll place it here above. Close holes, where is it? Here it is. Close holes here. So we have this menu. We can of course go to Dynamesh and press place polish and group, but we don't have to. And then just Control Alt click on the untitled Dynamesh. It's done, you know, and so on. You can make your I will of course make them. The next one will be, let's go to the preferences, custom zip palette, place it here. Don't place it here, place it in the top, and it will go in the bottom, which is absolutely fine by us. Dynamic subdivisions, yeah, dynamic subdivisions is pretty good. Here it is in the geometry tab again. So we will using here dynamic subdivisions, crease, Dynamesh, ZRemesher, mostly these things. Also other things are pretty useful, but for now we will use this, and of course this thing here for the resolution, but that will be ahead in the course. So dynamic, we press dynamic, place it in there, let's try, okay. Then dynamic cannot go with the smooth subdiv. It's absolutely mandatory to have this smooth subdiv here. And then we will have apply, also important for this. Of course, the only thing I'm using from this whole menu with a lot of options, I'm using dynamic, smooth subdiv, and apply. That's the way I do it. And then I will Control Alt click and press dynamic, for example, or dynamic subdiv, it doesn't matter. Then we place another Control Alt dragging here on the top, and it will go here. Split merge, let's go merge down, the bottom merge down. I rarely use it from there, but still we have to take it. It's in subtool, down, merge, open merge, and then place merge down. Merge down I use a lot, but I rarely use it from my custom menu. I don't know, because I'm not used to, you know. It's okay. Split and mask points, it's very important, and I use it a lot. So we get it Control Alt, since it's inactive because we don't have a mask. But if we make a mask, we cannot split again because we have subdivisions, but whatever, this is not important. So merge down will be up, and the split and mask will be down, and split hidden also is very important. We'll put it here. Del hidden, split hidden, it's not the same. Del hidden will be deleting what you don't see from your current subtool, and split hidden will just split it in another subtool, the hidden parts. And now Control Alt click and merge, split, or split merge. Let's split merge. Okay, another button will be visibility, it's pretty important. So another button, no, custom subpalette, let's put it up here, it will be down, and we'll place there grow, shrink, flip and double. Flip and double will be from the display or display properties. Yes, flip and double. And then we go to grow and shrink, which will be in polygroups, I think. Let's see. It should be here. Grow and shrink. I don't see it. So visibility probably, yes, grow and shrink. I don't use it that often, the grow and shrink, but flip and double I use a lot. So let's place here visibility, and then the last one, auto groups, group visible, it will be the grouping stuff. Control Alt drag this up here, not here down here, but up, so it's down. Yeah, it's counterintuitive, but it's like this. And then we go to groups, polygroups. Let's go to polygroups, drag Control Alt drag auto groups here, and something else, group visible, very important. Group visible, it's here. Coverage, okay. And group masked, also a pretty useful thing. Let's place it down. And now we have everything. We can name this Control Alt click groups, or just leave it blank, untitled, like I did when I made this menu. And of course, last thing you want to do is make a short key for this menu, so you can call it out wherever you are working on the model. You just have to disable customize, because otherwise you cannot do shortcuts. Control Alt click on the menu, leave your mouse there, don't move it, because if you move it, you will cancel the operation cancel. So Control Alt click and press your key combination that you want. In my case, it's Control Alt Shift A, and that's assigned. And now when I'm working, I will call my menu from wherever I am, just calling it. It doesn't have to be here, and we can also call it from here. And I called it ZZ Custom because I want it to be at the end of the stack, because they are alphabetically ordered. A, B, C, D, D, E, F, L, L, M, 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 a lot of M's. M and M. Okay, that's it for now. Of course, again, I will tell you, if you don't want to do everything, or if you cannot do it, you have difficulties, because I explained it a little bit fast, you can go to Preferences, Config, Open Config, and Load UI, and load my UI from the project files, and then just make the custom hotkeys, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just by Control Alt clicking and then pressing the hotkey, and then store config and the hotkeys also store, and you will be set. You can start working. So that will be it for now. Thank you, and let's continue. Let's start making this particular character that you see now on the screen from zero. Yes. And I will show you everything. Bye. Hello guys. Now I will show you first two ways of making a reference image to stay on your monitor. I have two monitors, and this is not very relevant to people that have two monitors, although when you have the image here in the monitor itself near your sculpt, it's easier. So I will show you two ways. First way is this. This is PureRef. Maybe some of you have already used this. This is an application called PureRef, like pure reference, but PureRef, it's very, very famous, and you can see some lessons for it in internet and stuff. Of course, you can go here by right-clicking, mode, always on top. You make sure that this is on, because by default it's not, and it will be on top of your window, ZBrush window. The other way that I use mostly is from ZBrush. So how do you remember how we start a file in ZBrush? We just open ZBrush and then just double click here, press no, and we have the sphere. And now we have everything here. We open subtool, we open geometry, just in case. How to put a reference file here, a reference image? We go to the texture here in the upper part, texture near tool and stroke, and just click it, and then go to import. We will use, don't just be intimidated by this complex thing. We use import, just import, and then we go to our file. We import this, for example. I made it with black background, in Photoshop. Why? I will show you in a minute. We open this and then nothing happened. And you say, what? But you go again to texture and then click it because it's here. And you notice it's with transparent background because the textures in ZBrush, the spotlight is this add to spotlight. When we add something to spotlight, it will go on the screen. Let's add it. Just press this button here, this here, add to spotlight. Press it, and now it's here. Magic. And it's with transparent background, very important, because it was black. You don't have to do this, you know, by transparent background, but whatever. So now what we do, it's covering most of our area, not good. So we can move it by just placing our mouse inside the circle, but not in the center. This center is moving the circle itself, just the center. But outside, between the center and this area, is that we move the image. We can scale it by going to this icon. So basically, here we use only this icon for scaling. Just press it and just drag with the mouse or with the tablet. And again, I'm using tablet. Now I'm using mouse for this, but I can use the tablet also. Yeah, now I'm using the tablet. And we make it this big, for example, and put it here in the side view. We can always, of course, move it. And now we got to get rid of this circle here. We can hide it, for example, but it's not very good. We just press Z on a keyboard. So remember, press Z to hide this. And now we have our reference. It's there. So if we press Z again, it will be shown. If we press Shift Z, everything will be gone. If we press Shift Z again, it's there. So we have this. This is our reference. We can start working now. But one thing, very important, we will start working, for example, with the move brush, and we can start doing some stuff. Let's remove the floor and just do the head. We'll start with the move brush, and let's remind ourselves how to navigate everything, how to navigate the interface. Dragging, just clicking outside the model. Inside the model will be something with the brushes, but outside we will rotate. We can rotate. Alt clicking and dragging, we will move or pan, not the model but the camera, because if you see the floor, we're moving only the camera. And then with Alt click and then release Alt, we can, and then drag, but we are holding down the mouse or the tablet. And I recommend you to use the tablet if you plan to use ZBrush, because tablets are pretty cheap these days. Wacom tablets are recommended, and even the cheapest Wacom tablet is around maybe $50–60, I'm not sure, but in my country is around 60 euro, I think. So it's pretty cheap, and it's working, and it's doing a great job. So even the cheapest, but let it be Wacom. Don't get another brand. It's doesn't work. So we will get to our, for example, standard brush and start working, and nothing happened. And you will say, what? Why is this? I will tell you why. When we put our spotlight here, our image, we have to go and do one more thing. Very important. Go to brush here, alpha, then brush, and then go to the fourth option, create curve depth samples, and disable spotlight projection. Very important. If spotlight projection is on, most of your brushes will not work. So maybe only the move brush will work and barely anything else. Now we will go ahead and start sculpting the head. And I will explain you Dynamesh. Dynamesh is the basis in ZBrush these days. Before Dynamesh was introduced in ZBrush, like a few years ago, maybe 6 years ago, I'm not sure how much years was that, but still Dynamesh is immensely important. You can do whatever, and I've shown you how Dynamesh works. Basically, when we turn on the polyframe here and drag, you'll see that the polygons get messed up. And also, this for the beginning, this kind of polygon density is not good. So we'll go to Dynamesh and go, for example, for the default sphere, I start always with 44 resolution of Dynamesh. So 44, press enter. And now just drag a mask outside the model. You can drag it just a little bit, just tiny mask. You can drag it big mask, but don't drag it until it goes to the model. Just drag it somewhere. So we move, drag, it's simple. So I'll Control Z a few times because I don't need this. But also one thing, it's not that important for you, but when the model is near this spotlight and with Dynamesh, the spotlight cuts the Dynamesh. Is very interesting. So we have to bear in mind, it's a bit, you know, you have to Control Z. Sometimes you don't see it and it's a bit tricky. So when I Control Z or get or undo, the resolution became bigger. So I will go 44 again, press enter, it's 48, no problem. This is my resolution. And now I can start working with move brush, for example, and start making the shape of the helm. And you will notice that I always turn and pan and do stuff like this, which you will find difficult maybe in the beginning, but don't worry. With practice, everything will be okay. You know, you have to just practice. You have to push yourself a bit in the beginning, and then everything will be fine. Now I want to make this kind of a line in the middle. I will go to my high polish brush, which is 5. And I will remind you, if you don't have this interface again, with the brushes here and with the shortcuts, you just have to go to Preferences, Load UI, and load the CFG, I think was the file, CFG file, from the project folder. So, from the project files folder. And then, with the high polish, I'm just making this. Just basic things, easy, move brush. I'm working slow because I want to show you everything. And I wanted to show you the Dynamesh. And from the Dynamesh window, we are using only Dynamesh, resolution, and polish sometimes. That's it, nothing else. Project, no. Groups, no. Maybe groups sometimes, but I barely use it. Maybe in the last year, I made a lot of models, never use this. Sub projection, no. Add sub, and no. Create shell, no. No, just Dynamesh, resolution. So that's why we have this here. Dynamesh, resolution, and those things here. So don't be afraid by, don't be frightened by all these menus in ZBrush. We are using in a base sculpting just a tiny bit of them. I mean, not too much. So now you see I'm panning, I'm rotating constantly, so I can make sure that I have a good model. And I always start with Dynamesh. Dynamesh is my bread and butter. It's very important. You can make everything with Dynamesh and then refine it with other methods. But Dynamesh, super important. So we have to make sure that our face here, face area, is a bit smaller, and the other area is a bit bigger. Yeah, I know my English is the best, of course. And yeah, I should write pure ref because I cannot pronounce it probably right, but it's okay. It's okay because I think if someone wants to learn, they will understand, or you will understand. So basically, with high polish and move, and sometimes smooth, and smooth, remember, is with shift. Shift, smoothing, alt, moving around, control, masking, and control shift is polygroups. But polygroups we will discuss in other video, of course. You will see. I like the videos to be about some things, and then we will talk about, and we will repeat them, and everything will be okay. Because by repetition you will learn. And yeah, Dynamesh we will use a lot in the beginning. When we have the overall form of everything, we'll stop using Dynamesh. But for now, we'll use it a lot. So I will go to my standard brush and then make sure I have this kind of holes. How I make them? With Dynamesh, with standard brush, but with Alt. Because Alt is just making different, the brush to sub, you know, the brush itself is Z-add. Most brushes by default are Z-add. When you press Alt, they become Z-sub. So if you go Z-sub and without pressing Alt, they will act like by default with Alt. Now with Alt, they will act like default brush. So Control Z and Z-add. Okay. Now what we have here is a head. And it's looking kind of good, but of course in the beginning nothing will look perfect. We'll have to figure a lot of things, proportions, forms. We have to be careful not to rush it. And we have this kind of head. And it will work, no problem. But probably we will do something else. For example, we can do this with the clay tubes brush, which is number 2. And remember, if you load from preferences and from config, load UI, if you load this CFG, which is in the project files, you probably will have to still make those shortcuts here. And, you know, I will even say how to make these shortcuts. Now, you go to the thing that you want to make shortcut of, then press Ctrl Alt and click on it, and you will notice in the top corner, press any key combination to assign custom hotkey and stuff. So while our mouse in this area, we can press a key combination. For example, this is 1, but it's 1, so I won't press it. But when you press it, you will assign 1 to this. But if we remove the mouse, hotkey node operation cancelled here. So that's how you make key combination. It's very easy. You don't have to be enable customized or anything. But remember one thing again, a hot tip. If you are making a key combinations, short keys or hotkeys, when you close the brush, it will ask you, do you want the key combinations to be saved? Press yes. And you will be okay. So now I will show you one more thing. Just one brush that I like to use that it's not here, but I use it always for horns, for arms, for legs. Very good brush. I press B in order to get my brushes, or I go here in order to get my brushes, and then I go to this brush, which is curved tube. This brush. This brush, as you can see, looks like a guy with the big mustaches and eyebrows, big eyebrows. So this guy is very good. What it does is making something like this. We can make horns from it. And we can also work on it until we have to accept it. But be careful, because for example now the horns are too big. How we can shrink them? It's a little bit interesting. So when we are here near the spline, this is a curve, near the curve, our brush is blue. When we go outside, it's red. While it's red, we can make it smaller and then go here and click on the curve. And then it will be, you know, if we make the brush smaller here and click, nothing will happen, you know. This is just for making this horns. And then our brush will be this size, you know. This is different sizes. So if I want it to be smaller, I will click again the bracket key and I will make it smaller, and then I can work on it like this. And of course we can always work on it more. The base thing in ZBrush is to have something from which to make something. What I mean is we have this and we can make these horns with very much ease because this is very much resembling the form. It's not exact, but it's very close. So how do I accept this? Many people are having difficulties accepting curves. It's very easy. Just click on the model. Just click without alt, without anything. Just click and it's accepted. Yes. So I go to my move brush and then I just move this up like that. Very easy. And what I like to do also is when I have separate objects, like the horns are a little bit separate from the helm. So what I like to do is, while they are masked, because we have inserted this mesh into the other one, and now the other one is masked, so we can move only this one. So this is masked. We will use that. We will not unmask. We'll go ahead and split those two into, because we have now only one subtool. We'll split it to have two subtools, one for the horns, one for the helm. It will be much more convenient to work with. Okay, and when we make Dynamesh for the horns, if they are connected here, there will be one mesh, which is not exactly what we want. We won't have control. So better to be different mesh. So split unmasked or split masked, it doesn't matter. It will split them, you know, basically. So now we have the helm and we are on it here. You'll notice we are on the helm subtool now. And very important thing that I think I didn't say, how to change between the subtools with alt click, alt click, alt click, alt click, alt click, or from here. Of course, we can see this is our horns in the thumbnail. This is the helm. So we are on the horns. I will continue to work on the horns like this. And of course, I will smooth here because we have too much of a stretch geometry. And we can try Dynamesh it at 48. Why not? I just made a mask, just a quick mask, and it's Dynameshed. And now I will smooth it with Shift. I'm pressing Shift and just dragging, just pressing and dragging, and it's smoothed. And now we can try to inflate it someplace. For example, with 6 is our inflate brush. You can see here inflate. And I will go with the big inflate brush and go a little bit like this, a little bit away from the model, and just inflate. Because if I inflate near the model, it will be like this. And I want it to be better, so I inflate a bit away from the model with a very big brush. And this will give me more control without breaking the model and making it blobby and stuff. That's important. Another thing, pretty important, but many people are not saying it. Dynamic mode for the brushes. I will show you that in a minute. By default, most brushes have dynamic mode enabled like this. Dynamic mode, what it does, I don't like it. So I always disable them. What it does is when we go away from the model, our brush remains the same size compared to the model. So here it's big, here it's small, but it's not good to work with, you know. I like to disable dynamic mode, and now whatever the brush I made, it will remain the same size no matter where the model is. And for now, that will be all. In the next video, we will start working probably again with Dynamesh, or we will see what. But this is starting to look good. So see you in the next one. Okay, let's say it again. We said it in the first video, but let's say it again. Where is Dynamesh? Very important. It's in the Tools menu, in the Tool menu, down in Geometry, because Geometry is the second thing in the Tool menu. You have this menu here, which is always open. We have Subtool, which is always open, and you can regulate how much visible subtools you have. But yeah, let's leave that for now. And then you have the Geometry. The Geometry tab is pretty important. We have Dynamesh, we have Dynamic Subdiv, we have Crease. Those things we will use the most, and also Zero Mesher. But therefore later. For now, we only have to know that in order to Dynamesh to be active, to be working, it has to be active. it has to be orange. If it's not orange, it will not do anything. So we can do, for example, this and mask with control and drag whatever we want, and nothing will happen unless we press Dynamesh. And when we press Dynamesh, you see that the other horn is gone because it was here and it cut it. So Control Z, and when we press Dynamesh, it will Dynamesh it, and then we can move Dynamesh, and so on. Let's Control Z a few times. Now the horns, they are not in correct position, and now I will need to move them. So moving geometry is not very tricky these days in ZBrush. Back in the days it was tricky, very tricky, but now it's just a matter of pressing W or going to, yeah, we don't have it here. So yeah, in the normal menu it is move, scale, rotate, MSR, but they are W, E, W, E, R. I'm pressing W, I'm pressing E, I'm pressing R. They're very easy to reach keys. So in order to have this pivot on a screen, so we can move, rotate, and do whatever, we need to press either W, E, or R. I always press W because it's much the most left key of all those keys. So when we press W, we will have this pivot here. When we press W again, we'll still have the pivot there. So the pivot will be there unless we press Q. So Q is near W, so it's pretty easy. W, the pivot is here. Q, the pivot is gone. And we can continue working on our model. So, yeah, Control Z, you know, is Control Z and Control Shift Z. Control Z, Control Shift Z. Undo and redo. So, let me tell you how to move. First, when I'm moving something or rotating in ZBrush, I like to disable my perspective. So, perspective is here, this button, and it's always here, or pressing P on the keyboard, but I rarely use it because P is too much on the right. It's not very easy to use with the left hand, so I press perspective here. And now press R or W, yeah. But since I want to rotate, and yeah, rotate is R, I sometimes press R, yeah, I admit it. But W is the same, because you get this pivot, and the pivot do everything. Before the pivot in ZBrush, there was another thing, which was the Gizmo 3D. No, this is the Gizmo 3D. Before that, it was this thing, and it was awful. So let's stick to Gizmo 3D. So the Gizmo is this. Yeah, I told you how to stick your views. What I mean is, I pressed Q, so Gizmo is gone. So we click, drag, and then press Shift, and then release everything. And then we are looking at left, from the left side. Now, Shift, no, not Shift, but just drag to rotate, and then Shift. And we are looking from exactly from the back. And when we don't have perspective, it's exactly back. Now, Shift, Shift, Shift. So when we are closer to one of the viewpoints, we just press Shift. And yeah, so from the top, I want to rotate the horns a little bit backwards. So I press W, so I get my Gizmo 3D, and I start to rotate. But what if my Gizmo is here? If I rotate, it's not good. So we need to move the Gizmo. To move the Gizmo without moving the object, because now we are moving the object. When we get those angles here, whatever we get of those angles, we are moving the object. So in order to move the pivot only and to position it wherever we want it, so we can rotate around it, we have to press Alt. And you will notice this padlock here. When I press Alt and move, it's just unlocked. When I release Alt, it's locked. When I press Alt and start moving, it's unlocked. So now I'm moving only the pivot, then I release Alt, and you see Alt to unlock, it's written in the below the Gizmo. And now I can rotate. Since I have symmetry, I'm rotating both of them. And now I have this, and this is a little bit closer to reality. Now I will just get my model a little bit back. I will just separate myself a bit from the object, from my model. By how do we pan? Zoom. It's clicking or just pressing, then pressing Alt. No, it's just pressing Alt, then clicking, moving, and then releasing Alt and continuing to drag. And yeah, so this is, yeah, I told you that. I told you even twice. This is counterintuitive a bit. It's not like in any other program, but it's working. And it's, yeah, you can get used to it. I promise you, you will get used to it. I will disable lazy mouse because I don't need it now. And I will disable the polyframe so I don't see my geometry. I don't want to see it now. I don't need to see it. And I can, if I want to, you know, with the standard brush to put a little bit geometry here, it will be best if I press solo. So it's not getting on my way. And the draw size is good, the intensity is nice. Sometimes ZBrush is losing. Let's try 7, which is okay. Sometimes the tablet is losing its properties, its sensitivity, and we have to alt and tab twice from ZBrush in order to get them back. But it's a rare occasion, so it's cool. Dynamesh, let's see Dynamesh if it's active. No, it's not. Now it's active. And with Dynamesh, maybe we should Dynamesh it on a lower level, but we'll see. So I'm not going fast with these horns. I'm just taking my time. I want them to look good. And we'll see if they will, but probably they will at some point. So with the move brush, which is 4 in our case, because, you know, we have put these short keys, it's much easier with the short keys, I promise you. Without them, it's a hell. You can work maybe 3 times faster with those short keys. Without them, living hell. It's amazing. It's just unworkable in ZBrush for me. Yeah, I'm so used to this. And yeah, I'm pressing 1. I'm standard. I'm pressing 2 clay tubes, 3 pinch, 4 move, and I just know my stuff. And if you will start working like this, you will very soon know your stuff too, and you will be very easily working with those things. And by those things, I mean the brushes. Let me see. So the horns, they have this kind of a thing here. Let's see. And I will do it. And then here and yep, I'm just thinking out loud. Sometimes those kind of models, and I chose this model because it's kind of easy to make, so there's no rush. We'll make it very easy and fast. But it's not gonna be that fast because I'm trying to teach you something about something. So yeah, you know already how to move geometry, how to rotate geometry, and how to Dynamesh, which is pretty important. So you know a lot of things already. But we will go through masks also, although we don't need masks right now exactly, but we will need them in the future. So next thing I want to do, maybe we will get back to the horns later, but for now they're looking nice. Probably when we have the body, we can just make the triangulations needed in our minds to do the horns again. This I will show you now how to rotate 2 objects or more at once, but not now. First, let's learn how to add geometry. So now I need to make the body. It will be easier for me, or the most easy thing, to add the body using append. So when we are on subtool, so tool menu, subtool, and then we go to append. Append subtool, press it, and then don't move your mouse anywhere else except in the menu, because if you go someplace else like here, the menu is gone. So pressing and going directly to the menu and staying inside will be your best bet for this menu to stay here, because if you go a little bit outside, it's gone. So append, go here, sphere 3D. Now we go to the sphere. We make sure that we have symmetry, because when you append, you don't have symmetry. You see, pressing X will activate symmetry, and then we'll have to move this sphere down and make it bigger. So W, go to the exact front without perspective, and we move the sphere down. So if you pivot, for example, is like this, you cannot move it down very precisely, because it will go someplace else. So what do? We just press Alt and then press this button here. This button will reset orientation of the pivot. It will do it like this. It's pretty easy. And now we can do everything, and we just gonna expand this a lot and put it back like this. And now I'll make it even a little bit like this. So with those handles here, we can enlarge our model on those axes, which is pretty cool. Yes. So now we have symmetry, we have everything, and with the big move brush, we can start just doing this. Move brush in the beginning of every model is my best friend. Also Dynamesh. Dynamesh and move brush are my best friends. So we will see. Let's see. So the helm is from here to here, and then from the helm, from the chin down, we have one helm and something. So it's pretty close. And now we have three subtools. You see the horns, the head, and the body. Or this is not exactly the body, this is the blueprint of the body. Okay. And then we need to move this helm with the horns, not move it, but rotate it front, because if you see, it's looking up and it has to look a bit down and more of the forehead to be showing. So we go and press W. So our pivot is active. Then we press Alt and drag our pivot here, because we will rotate to this kind of axis. And then, very important, press this little tiny button here. And now we'll transpose all the subtools. Wow. Okay, but we don't want all. We want only the head and the horns. So what do? We press Ctrl Shift and drag this green rectangle to select only the head and the horns, and the body becomes unselected, and now we can move only the head and the horns. The other way to do it is to Ctrl Shift Alt, and then the rectangle is red, so we are excluding from selection the body, and then we just rotate, and we can see it from all angles. It's looking better now. Okay, and we again disable this, because we don't need it on all the time. Now that we have this, I will look at the model. So when we look at it, let's turn perspective on. We see that the head is like this, and then the back is starting almost in the level of the head. So we have to move our back a little bit, not a little bit, a lot, like this. And then the horns obviously had to be, but all the time when you're moving something with big increments with the move brush, we go like this, or we can of course rotate the horns this way. It's not a problem at all, we can always do that, but sometimes we need to do a bit of a hand fixtures, and this is more like it. So now I think you understand how to move one subtool, how to move a couple of subtools at the same time, or at least you know the basis of this. We will do it again in the next videos, so don't be afraid if you don't get it right now. It will be explained again because this is of course a tutorial for absolute beginners, so I assume that you need to be explained everything. So here with the down standard brush I'm just marking where the armor will be and how it will look. It's not final at all, it's just markings and trying to achieve the proportions that we have on our model. Yeah, it's nothing too much, but it's starting to look kind of good. Of course we need more work in order to make it work. More work to make it work, of course, it's absolutely normal. This I will increase here. And now you look at the geometry here, it's not very cool because this is a regular sphere. So what I will do is Dynamesh it, of course. We go to Dynamesh and just, but don't press Dynamesh when you're on big resolution, it's not worth it. So let's go to, for example, 44 again, and Dynamesh will make it 48, I don't know why, and Dynamesh. And now it's pretty high resolution, it's higher than the head, on the same Dynamesh number. And here we came to this thing. The bigger the mesh is here, the higher poly count it will be with the same Dynamesh. So this is at least 5 or even more times smaller than the body. So the Dynamesh on 48 is making this big of a rectangles. Here it's making much smaller ones because at the same number. So yeah, that's how ZBrush is working. If we have something small, for example, let's do this. Let's get the horns, or let's get the head. Yeah, let's get the head, duplicate it, press W, move it up, make it smaller, and it's much smaller now. So if we Dynamesh now, Dynamesh is on 48 resolution, you will see what happens. The resolution is, you know, it's kind of the same resolution now. The squares are the same, but it's looking much less, much low poly, yeah, than this even. Okay, so you understand. Now, and I shown you how to duplicate subtools. You just press duplicate while you are on the subtool, and how to delete. You just go to the tool that you want to delete. You make sure that you are on that tool. Press solo to make sure, and then delete. And ZBrush will, are you sure? It will ask you. You say, okay, I'm sure. Yeah, why not? What? Yeah. So yeah, we have this, and now we can start pretty much making it. In the next video probably we will learn about masks, how to make masks on the model like this. It's of course with control and just dragging, just yeah, it's nothing too complicated, but we have to learn it, and we'll get back to it in the next video. Thank you and bye. So guys, welcome to another video where we will talk about basic ZBrush stuff, which is masks. Masks are kind of the same as in other programs like Photoshop. When you mask an area and you try to move or delete or whatever, and in this case we don't have delete, but if you try to do something, you can do it around the mask. The mask does not get touched. So how to mask? I told you it's with Control key. First, we can mask in the object. In the object, if we start with Control on the object, you see I'm pressing Control key and it's going to mask. So I'm holding Control key and I'm just drawing a mask. I can draw a mask. When I press Control Alt though, so I'm including Alt key, and you see this minus sign, before the mask, you know. Minus is plus because I'm only with control, and then minus control alt. And now we can just extract from the mask, subtract maybe, yeah. So we can basically erase the mask where we want. The other thing we can do is start the mask outside the object itself, and we're making this kind of selection. This selection can be moved while we are making it. So I'm now holding control, holding my tablet, and I start holding spacebar. So control spacebar and dragging, and you can drag your selection and just place it here, for example. Then control alt spacebar, which is a little bit difficult, but control drag, then alt to remove mask, and then spacebar, and yes. So spacebar basically is moving the selection. This, or even this selection, we can move with spacebar. But for this selection we will talk later. For now, let's turn out to masks. So what I can see here is that this area here is alone by itself, and then the chest is very much smaller. In our case, it's not like that. So what can I show you is how to do this. So first I will mask exactly what I want to stay, and then I will shrink the rest, and I will show you how it's done. So in order to mask here, because I can see it, I will press this solo button here. I use it often, but it's a good thing that it's there by default, so it's nothing to worry about. I'm masking this area, and let's see how the design will be from the back. The thing is that from the back we don't have a design, but we can kind of manage to think of something, probably. We'll see. Maybe something like this. Yeah, I would like it to be something like this. Okay, and now while we were on mask, now I will go to 4, which is move brush, and if I start moving like this, you see it's not very good. So I will just increase my brush with the bracket keys, or from here, or if you press S you can increase it, but I like to increase it with the bracket keys because I've used that in Photoshop way before I learned ZBrush, so it's kind of second nature to me. And I'm just moving with very big brush this thing inwards so it's smaller, and that's okay. We can then invert the mask. So now if I want to work on the upper side, I will just click, not drag, just click outside the object. So click, and yeah. Maybe you're wondering what will happen if we control click in the object, but just click. We will feather the mask. So this kind of this points that the mask is meeting non-mask area, so the border will be feathered. Let's see. So control and click, 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 click. It's feathering. I'll control Z a few times. Control Alt and click will sharpen the mask. So you know, almost everything in ZBrush is with Control, Shift and Alt, so it's not that difficult. Control, Alt, Shift and dragging or clicking, you just have to know what to expect from ZBrush, and it's pretty good. So next thing we want to do is work on this area. We can just do this and this and this, and I think we have touched most of the things about masks. So you may notice that for now we just had subtool menu and the geometry menu and only Dynamesh, and that's it. So to start sculpting you don't need too much menus, you need just to know some things, just some stuff. So don't be scared, don't be intimidated by ZBrush, because ZBrush has a lot of menus, a lot of things. It has stencil, it has stroke, it has tool, the tool, yeah, this is our menu, transform, Z plugin, and Z plugin has a lot of things in it. we are using one of these things, you know, from Z plugin. We are using from Subtool Master, mirror. Where is this? Mirror. It's here. But it's the only thing I use from there. So there are most of the things that I use, or most of the things that you will need, are here now in our interface. The brushes here, most used brushes, and the light here that we will need maybe in the end, and everything like this. So what I like to do now is make sure this is big enough here. Okay. And now I will show you, because the masks, we already done it. So how to remove a mask completely. We can do this with Control Alt drag and just disable the mask, or we can Control drag outside the object. Exact thing that we're doing with the Dynamesh. We can Control drag. So if we Control drag now without a mask, there's no mask. If we now Control drag, it will make a Dynamesh, you know. It will Dynamesh it. You can see Dynamesh. And yeah, we have a good hole in. Very cool. So, but if you have a mask and Control drag once, it will remove the mask, and the next Control drag will Dynamesh. So you have to bear it in mind. What I want to do is separate this part in order to be a separate part. Very cool. So I will show you now something that I used recently, the last like 3 years maybe, and it allows me to work only in ZBrush, not going to max and everything for hard surface modeling, and it's pretty good. But bear with me here. We will do it a lot of times, maybe a couple of times here. So if you don't understand it now, although I will explain it very carefully, it's not a problem. I will explain it also some other time. So we're going to mask here. So Control drag and just make a mask. But try to avoid the corners. So go near the corners, but not too near. Try to avoid them. It's not a problem to go a little bit inwards, but the thing is that we need more flat area. We don't need to go like this. It will be awful. So we do this, and then we just mask everything. If you want to mask bigger, you just Alt click and then release Alt, and the model will go very much away from you, and then you'll be able to control and drag to mask a big area. But you don't have to control that way, so don't go too far. Don't go too far. Okay, so this way we don't need to increase our brush size. We need just to get away from the model. And that's the good thing about not using the dynamic mode for brushes. Very cool. Again, I'm using pen tablet. So if someone asks, it's Intuos, I think 4. Yeah, Intuos 4, I think I'm using. Nowadays, the modern Intuos is, I think, 8 or 7, I'm not sure. So, now, we want to extract this, and I will show you how. So, in the subtool menu, in the bottom, we have this extract option, in the very bottom of the menu. So, extracting is pretty easy. You just press extract, and you will see that we have some mesh here. But if we rotate, it will disappear. Extracting has to be accepted. So it's just a preview here. If you move, it will disappear. So extract and then accept. And now you see we have this mesh and we are on it. It's masked a little bit and everything. So I will show you now the polygroups in ZBrush. If we turn on the polyframe, you will see, let's get rid of the mask by just making a selection and control. You will see that we have one group, one color here, one color here, which is the border, which is the thickness, and one inside. Most of the time, the inside color is different from the outside color. Now it's not, but I think there are different polygroups. How we can see if they are really different polygroups? We can do this. Control-Shift-Click. When you Control-Shift-Click on a group, it will isolate that polygroup. So Control-Shift-Click. And you see that now we have only this group. Since this is only one-sided polygons, we cannot see their other side. We have a remedy for that. We can press double here and they will be visible, but don't do it now. So now we're isolating only this polygroup and the others are hidden from this subtool here. We can see them, only them, by Control-Shift dragging outside here, and we will see the other polygroups that are inside and the thickness. Now we can Control-Shift-Click and we will hide also the thickness, and the thickness will be now hidden along with the top layer, top polygroup, and we can even make this different color polygroup. So now, bear with me, we'll go to, again, the tool menu, of course, but down to polygroups here, polygroups. So you have to find it. It's between visibility and contact I haven't, and we are here again. Yes. So let's do it. Let's continue doing it. So now I promised you, this time we will do the shoulder. So I don't know if you understood how I make the arms, but I made them the same way I made the horns. So if you're not sure, because I don't think I explained it quite well, if you're not sure how I make the arms, go and see how I made the horns. It's with this brush, curved tube brush, and with just with this brush, yes. But to learn how to work with this kind of brushes, which are curved brushes, you have to go to the tutorial about the video about the curved tube brush, because there I explain how to work with this kind of brush. So here I'm using mostly the move tool, and I'm preparing everything, just touch here and there. It's not mandatorily that I will make everything perfectly and exact the same way here. I will try, but the thing is that it takes time, and also it takes to have all the parts first. So next, what we want to do, we want to go to the body by alt clicking, you know, with alt clicking on the objects, we're changing the subtool, and that's faster than just trying to find it here, but still, let's try it here. I'm on the body, I can press solo. Now I want to make this kind of shoulder pad or shoulder. It's a little bit complicated. We can make it from either a cylinder and then hide some parts of the cylinder and delete them, or we can make them the same way we made this armor here, this one. But I think from cylinder it will be a little bit more interesting, because we already have seen how to make this from extraction, and now let's see how we can make something from a cylinder. So you notice how my body disappeared, because the icon here is gray of the eye. So the eye, if we press the eye, it is here. If we press the eye again, it's not here. But if we press the eye on the active subtool, which is the armor on the shoulders, they don't disappear because it's active. And when the tool is active, no matter if the eye is active or not, it will be seen. The tool, it will be visible. That's the thing. So one thing I want to show you about the visibility is shift click on one of the eyes will disable the visibility of all the subtools. Shift click again will enable it. Yeah, this could prove useful. We'll see. So we will append from here, append. Go to the menu without going out of the menu, because it will disappear, and probably cylinder 3D from here or from here, it will be okay. So we get the cylinder and we have to go to the cylinder. So either here or here, you know, we are on the cylinder. Now we press solo to work only on this cylinder. Make sure when we're working on this kind of things like the cylinder to not have the perspective on, because yeah, it will be bad. Then we turn on polyframe, disable perspective, and now we'll hide parts of the cylinder, most of the parts of the cylinder, almost everything, and we'll leave just that, because we need we don't need to have too much edge loops. We don't need them. And then we will del hidden, and then I'll go here, Control Alt Shift drag, then space, it's a little bit difficult, and drag it here. So I will hide this and then del hidden. And now we have this, and now I pressed W to get my pivot. And if you want to center your pivot to the unmasked part of your model, now everything is unmasked, so center to the model, just press Alt and this button here, this one. Go to Unmasked Mesh Center. So Alt, press it, and it will go to the center, which is very convenient. Now when it's on the center, we can just drag this green slider to make it bigger. And then Solo, disable. Now we can move it to the side, rotate it with pressed shift, because with press shift, you know, if you see the degrees down, there are 5 degrees increments. If we don't press shift, it's a mess. So with shift, 90 degrees, and it will be cool. Now I'll make it bigger and put it where the shoulder should be, probably something like this. Move it with this handle, and it could be something like this, of course, a little bit wider. So why I don't want edge loops here? Because it will be much easier to make this kind of little here and then white here. So yeah, this will be easier for me to make. But first, Solo, and then we will delete half of the cylinder almost. So just drag like this. So what have I done? So let's see. I have arranged my camera so my cylinder is like a parallel to my horizontal line. Let's see it now. Okay, but I want it to be like this because I want to cut here, and I cut it here, and I think it's kind of good. Maybe we can cut a little bit more here, but probably not. Okay, so now what we want to do is start adjusting this. I'm pressing my move brush and I'm doing a little bit of adjustment. So let's see. The helmet ends here, and a little bit below ends this armor. In our case, this armor ends a little bit more below, probably, or not. Probably it's good. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So the shoulder is small. Yeah, I'm trying to get the move brush, and with the move brush, yeah, another thing. If you want to use the move brush to go inwards or outwards like this, you have to press Alt. Just press Alt. You see the minus sign. Without the minus sign is just in the middle of our brush, you know, the minus sign appears, and then we just click and drag. This is dragging right, this is dragging left. So left, right, or up or down. But left and right is the best. So this way you're moving the polygons according to the normal of the point you have clicked on. So here, for example, Alt click and then move like this. Alt click here and move like this, you know? Yes. So let's just adjust this, make it bigger, and move this here, because you notice how this is in this area here. The end of the shoulder is starting from this area, so it should be around here, probably. Yes. And the shoulder itself should be a bit bigger. And in the back, we don't know how it is, but we can imagine it. Of course, we can always imagine it. And now I will have to show you the Z-Mesher brush, Z-Modeler, Z-Modeler brush, don't be mistaken, Z-Modeler brush. Z-Mesher is the other thing that I've shown you, that we made this. This is the Z-Mesher, and it's located here. Or we have it here, it's the same. But this time I will show you the Z-Modeler brush, which is this brush here. It's a very important brush for low poly modeling in ZBrush, and that's what we're gonna do now. This shoulder, I notice, is almost vertical here, but we will not make it vertical, we'll make it kinda on angle. Vertical is too much, I think. So I'm just moving with my move brush, rotating the camera, moving around, and that's why it's very important to be able to rotate and pan and move the camera around easily and freely, and that requires practice, of course. And if you try to make this model, and bear with me here, probably you will have a bit of a practice and it will be much easier for you every time you do something in ZBrush, I guess. Yes. So now I think it's kind of good. So we go to Z-Modeler brush and nothing happens except this falls down and we have this polysphere here. Why? Nobody knows. Now, how this Z-Modeler brush works? It works in this way. Now, Q-mesh a poly. You see, when we are on a poly, it's Q-mesh a poly. I'm not pressing anything, I'm just hovering. Hovering over edge, it's edge loop. Hovering over a point, it's doing something for a point. So, go to a poly, for example, press space, and you have all these options, and you get scared and run away. Yes, I know, but don't be scared. I was scared first time I saw this. They introduced this to ZBrush, I think 3 or 4 or 6, no, maybe 4 years ago, something like this, or 5. But no matter. The thing is that we are using some of the options there, not everything. So don't be scared. So first, we go to an edge loop. Edge, not an edge loop. Because by default, when we click on an edge, with this brush, we're making edge loop. But we don't need that now. I'm not sure why this made this kind of thing here. It's strange, but we'll see. Del hidden. I haven't pressed del hidden. Now it's good. Okay. So we want to make this edge loop here so we can make this lip and the bottom one too. So I will show you now on the edge and then press space. And then we have insert here. This is the action, all actions, and what they apply to. So insert single edge loop or multiple edge loops. We need single one for now. So insert is one of the main things we do with edges. Insert, crease sometimes, and yeah, bridge, but insert is the main thing. So insert single edge loop. We go insert it here. Then we can insert one in the bottom too, but let's not do it now yet. First we go to this thing here. We want to select only this row of edges here. So we go to edge, one of the edges, press space while we are on Z-Modeler brush, of course. You see it here in the top left corner. We are on Z-Modeler brush. So edge, hover it, don't click it, then press space, and then stay on this menu, because if you go out, until you're pressing space, you're okay. So I'm just holding space now. Then we need to mask not an edge, but edge loop complete. Let's try that. Edge loop complete. So click it, and now this whole edge is masked. And now I can reverse the mask, so this whole edge will be unmasked and everything else will be masked. How do you invert the mask? Of course with Control, clicking outside of the object. Just click, don't drag, click. And now it's unmasked. Now we can call our pivot and just center it to the unmasked portion of the model, and then just make this and this. And then I press Q to get out of the pivot mode, then press 4 to get out, this 4, to get out of Z-modeler mode, Z-modeler brush, and then I increase my brush and just do this. Just manually adjust what happens with this lip. And it's starting to take a pretty good shape, yes. So with Z-modeler brush, we can do a lot of things. And one of the things that we will do with Z-modeler brush in the course of our tutorial or course, we will make thickness of objects. And this is very, very cool feature. We can extrude polygons or parts of polygons, not parts of polygons, some polygroups we can extrude. We can do a lot of things with this brush. So it's very, very good. Z-modeler brush is one of the best tools that were introduced in ZBrush in the recent years. Maybe the best, because it allows us to make things in ZBrush without going to 3D Max and stuff. Before that, I was like always going to 3D Max, making this shoulder, for example, and putting it back here, and it's not that good. So now I will show you, and not only now, I will show you a lot of times how to save your file here. So this is Save Tool, and you can see the shortcut, it's Control S. By default, this shortcut is Control Shift S, I think, or something like this. But and Control S is File, Save As, is Control S. But now I made this Control S because I save only Tool. Very rarely I save a project which is saved from File here. So Tool, Save As, or Control S, and we save our tool as 08. For example, and you better save more often, because sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes ZBrush crash and doesn't save your progress. Very rarely, I say. Most of the time ZBrush is saving your progress, and it's here. If you open Lightbox, this thing that first we open, and you go to Quick Save, and you can see some things that I have done before, some aliens, some other things. But this is quick saves, and ZBrush makes them often, so it's cool. But if we want to load the file again, we can go to Load Tool, of course, and load our file. But we will do that another time, and I will show you what happens. I've shown you the first video, but it was just like preview, and I will show you again, of course, because this is important. Loading and saving files is pretty important. I will do it. And in this case, they are files, but they are tools. Here in ZBrush, they are called tools. So we have this. Let's fast go to Z-modeler brush, go to Insert, Single Edge Loop is selected. So we go here, make this, then we go to Mask, Edge Loop Complete, Mask, Edge Loop Complete, and mask it, Control click here to reverse the mask, then Alt click this button on our pivot, and the pivot is called by W key or E key or R key, which one you choose. But W is the closest, I told you. And now we just make this and this. And now I press 4 to get to my move brush and just go to it like this. So let's see everything and figure out what we can do next. Okay, this is pretty big, and I will just move it down like this, so it's not that long, but it could be long, we'll see. It's pretty big, so I will make it smaller and rotate it a bit and put it here. It's a little bit bigger than the head, so yeah, it's kind of like this. Okay, so we have this shoulder, and let's make thickness for this piece here. I think it's kind of good. We can try to make thickness for it, but first let's make it a little bit more interesting. So move brush, use the move brush, of course, always. Move brush is one of my favorites, maybe my favorite brush. I'm not sure which one is my favorite brush, but move brush is definitely one of the favorite ones. I like it very much. So smooth here with shift. With every brush, shift is smooth. Almost every brush. Let's try the Z modeler and shift is smooth again. So with every brush, smooth is shift. Shift smooth, then we go here. When we look from this direction, it will be a little bit awkward because you see here it's not quite understandable what is there. But we can go to the hand, press our 6 button, which is inflate brush, or select it from here, but it will be easier with the shortcuts, of course, and just inflate this, then go to our move brush with 4, move around and just make sure it's going inwards, and then I will increase this. Of course, we can always adjust, it doesn't matter, but the thickness will make it in the next video, because we'll continue probably working with our Z modeler brush, because it's kind of not difficult, because it's very easy, but it's kind of something different. It's different. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, saving project file. ZBrush is auto saving, and it's auto saving kind of every 20 minutes. So yeah, it's time to end this video, and I'll see you in the next, of course. Hello again. And what I will show you today, or in this video, is how to make the armor here, the body armor. Let's try it. So first, we will make sure that we don't need this kind of things anymore, because we already have this kind of traps armor, so we don't need it. I'll smooth it, push it a bit inwards and smooth it. What I need to do now is, let me see, make the shape of this thing here, like this. Then with the move tool, and now I'm getting my damp standard brush. You see, when I'm changing the brush, you will see it here. Damp standard brush I'm using now, and I will cut in here. And the damp standard brush by default is a bit different from the other brushes, because it's on Z sub by default, and most of other brushes are Z add by default. So you have to be aware of this. And I mostly, when I'm adjusting my ZBrush at the beginning, when I install new ZBrush or when I'm sitting in a new computer, I always make it to Z add and then save it separately. Where to save it is another question. Most of the times you save your brushes that you're using in C program files, Pixologic, ZBrush, for example, ZBrush, the version you have, and then it's Z startup is most likely the place you place your new brushes that you want to use. In Z startup, brushes. But yeah, I'm telling you that probably you won't remember it, which is cool, because we don't need that now. We don't need it at this point, because we are using only the brushes that ZBrush provides from the beginning. We won't be putting new brushes. I rarely use any other brushes, some alphas sometimes, but not brushes. So let's see, this is kind of good, but we need to move with the move brush. So you see how am I, again, rotating around the object and using various brushes to achieve the goal. So in the beginning you won't be that quick probably, and you will have to think, okay, which brush to use here, which brush to use there. But at some point you will get faster and faster, and suddenly you will be very good at this. Of course, you have to put the time and effort to learn it, and yeah, to practice it enough. Let's do this, and I think this is cool. Let's see it. But I'm thinking of something. Probably we should zero mesh this armor, and it will be easier to make this all these things. Let me see. Yeah, it's looking kind of good. It's looking kind of good, but I will zero mesh it. How to zero mesh it? Okay, we can go here or zero mesh from this menu. Of course, if you don't have the menu, you won't be able to zero mesh from there. So you will zero mesh from here in the geometry tab, zero mesher, and go to zero mesher and lower. Let's try 0.5 and zero mesh, and let's see what kind of topology it will make. Whether it will be nice or not, we'll see. It's a bit more polygons than I anticipated, but probably it could be fine. Yeah, I think it's we'll see. So now I'm continuing with the standard brush, just pushing here and there. We'll see how it will be. I'm going to use also the pinch brush. What the pinch brush does is, you can see when I'm just dragging with the pinch brush, it's just making the polygons closer to each other and thus making a kind of sharp transition between some planes, for example, if we want to do it. And obviously we will use it for this. Sharp transitions from plane to plane. This is the pinch brush. And when I'm pinching valleys, I'm pinching peaks, I'm pinching just with the pinch brush, I'm just dragging. When I'm pinching valleys or inward things, I'm pinching with Alt. So yeah, again, we have the Alt use of the brush. And of course, the Shift use of the brush will be to smooth. Let's do this now. This, and let's see. Okay, this kind of thing here on the neck, let's move it down. And since it's a little bit lower poly, I think we can move it down easily. I will make sure this is inward. And I don't know how the hands will work, but probably they will at some point, somehow. We'll make them work. And I'm just, again, Alt, moving, Alt. Yeah, let's say again how to pan and zoom. Just Alt, click, and then we move. With Alt, holding Alt, we're moving. And then we release Alt and continue to drag, and we are like this. So, let's see what else we might learn about what. So, I don't think I explained you the polygons in ZBrush pretty well. We have used them here in this area, but I haven't explained them yet. Also, although we will use a little bit of a Z-modeler brush again, just pressing space, insert, single edge loop. We insert one loop here, and also we will mask it again, reverse the mask, and then put our pivot with Alt click here to be centered, and then a little bit of increase. So I want this area, this shoulder, to be a bit spherical, I mean a part of a sphere. Then I will, you see how I disabled the mask, how I deleted the mask. You just control, drag outside the object, and the mask is gone, completely gone. This is cool. And yeah, you can see this shoulder here, this lip, the lower lip, this is a little bit strange here, but in this area we can see it better, and I think we have made it as good as it can be. We'll see. We'll see. We can now go to make the thickness of this shoulder, which will be fine, And I will make it thicker probably than the image, we'll see. So, how to make thickness? We go to polygon, not to edge, and polygon. And when we go to a polygon, we press space again and hold it. Because if we don't hold space, it will disappear. So, hold. And then we have QMesh by default here. We can do it with QMesh, but I prefer extrude. So from these all options here, which looks very scary at the first glance, we use only extrude, polygroup, and most of the time we use extrude and polygroup. That's the most things we use about polygons. And then here we will extrude not a single poly, but all polygons. Sometimes we use polygroup all, or polyloop, and anything else probably we don't use. I mean, from these all options we use frequently like 4 or 5 options, all, you know. So it's not that scary. You will just have to learn those few. So extrude all polygons, extrude them inward, and you notice how our polygons are inverted. And we'll have to fix that. And it's pretty easy. We can go to, I think it was display properties. Yes, flip. And we flip the polygons. But I have it here also, flip. So I always, kinda always, when I extrude my polygons, when I make thickness like this, I make it inward and then I flip. And then I'm crazy. When I flip, I'm crazy. I'm flip, oh, crazy. No, I'm good. So we have this thing. And this thing is the shoulder. What we can do. So you will ask probably, okay, you have the shoulder, but he has 2 shoulders. Very good question. Thank you for this. And if you like this course, of course, you can put a good comment wherever you are looking at the course. I mean, in which site, because probably it's in Udemy or ArtStation and some other places. Who knows where you can look at it. So, place it. How to mirror this shoulder? Easy. First select the shoulder by alt-clicking on it. Alt-clicking on the shoulder. And let's turn on polyframe because it will be easier to see what we have selected. So now the shoulder is for sure selected. We go to mirror, which is here. But if you don't have it here, the mirror, you have to go to transform, not to transform, to Z plugin, subtool master. So Z plugin here, because Z script is and Z plugin are at the end of this because it's alphabetical. Yeah. So Z plugin, go to subtool master and then mirror, just press it and you will get this option, this menu, and it's pretty straightforward. I always use this first option, merge into one subtool. If I want it to be a separate subtool, of course I will do the second option. And you see the preview here on the right. This will be one subtool, this will be 2 subtools. And there, here in the bottom you see the preview again. Now it will be on x-axis, so it will be exactly what we want. If we want it to be on top, it will be like this, and if we want to be behind, on z-axis. So we want x-axis as it is, so we just press OK. I just explained those options to you, but we just have to press OK most of the time. So if you are using, of course, X symmetry on your model, and we are, so it's cool, because when I press X, the symmetry is X. We can change it, but we don't need. So the symmetry is X, and we need the symmetry turned on, so we press X to turn it on for these shoulders, because when we move one, we want the other one to move too. So now our model is starting to look pretty good, although the horns aren't alright yet. So maybe we should make them low poly too, so we can easily modify their appearance. So let's see them with this solo mode. I use always the solo mode when I want to concentrate on one thing, and I want to concentrate on these horns now. Let's zero mesh them. Okay, I will zero mesh them from this menu because it's easier. We have fewer options here. So let's try at 0.7. And of course, if we don't like it, we can always go ahead and Control Z and change it to something else and just try it again. But yeah, this is cool. So I'm showing it. If I want to check out how my model looks according to the image, according to this, I will have to make it relatively the same size. So now it's kind of the same size, and it's not exactly the same. So I will push this up. I will make these horns a bit bigger, and with the inflate tool I will inflate them to make them a bit bigger. The horns are very important because they are giving us the silhouette of this character, and if we don't make them big enough or even bigger than they are in the image, we won't have a good looking character. So I'm making them a bit bigger than they were, and now it's looking better, I think. Okay, let's put them like this on the side. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I'm thinking that this is starting to look pretty good. Of course, from the side view, it doesn't look that promising, but we'll see. And also, you can see our head is a little bit lower than this. But when we put perspective on, it's a bit more like we have to be. What I'm doing now is just moving down the armor of the traps, and then I will alt click on the body itself, which is here, and move it down too, because we don't need that body there, and we don't need that things too. We need the body to be just below, but not protruding over the armor above, if you understand what I'm saying. So basically, in this video we have done the thickness of the shoulder. We can do the thickness of the armor too. So yeah, let's do it. We are on the armor now.